thinks like, am I equipped for this feat? Let's keep listening.
If you say to someone, we've been together 5 years and we've decided we're not going to get married. We're going to move in together, but we're not going to get married. Ooh, what's wrong? You have intimacy issues? What's your problem? Meanwhile, 56% end in divorce. It's literally fits the legal definition of negligence. It's a negligent behavior. The way you define negligence in law school is when what you lose by not doing something, okay, is lower than the risk of harm. It's what's called a BPL analysis. So the burden of not doing a thing is lower than the likelihood, the probability of harm. So BPL, so burden, probability, and loss. Marriage is an inherently negligent activity. It's like owning a lion. Like the likelihood of someone getting hurt seriously by this is very, very high. No one ever says it to you. Because why? Because, and I would say something, I've been doing this for over 20 years, right. And I still get misty-eyed at weddings. Like I still really, there's something in me that goes like, you know, maybe it'll work out for these two.
You still believe in love?
Sweet. I absolutely believe in love. I think love is wonderful. But love and marriage have very little to do with each other. I don't think there's much of a correlation there.
Amen.
And I think that's where we got off track. Like I believe in pair bonds. I don't think I can learn everything I need to know about myself from myself. I think having someone around me who sees my blind spots, and that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That could be a friend, that could be any number of things. But there is something wonderful about romantic connection. We know that. I mean, the other statistic is 56% of marriages end in divorce, but 84% of people who get divorced are remarried within 5 years of their divorce.
Really?
Wow.
So think about that. So now you've done it.
Jesus.
And failed and felt the pain of the loss, and within 5 years, 84% are remarried.
Guys, think of the statistics this guy's shooting out. These have to be current statistics, right? Like the 56% of marriages ending in divorce. There'll be a lot of people who try to downplay the number of marriages ending in a divorce. This is a practicing divorce attorney. And then he goes on to talk about how 84% of people who get divorced are remarried. That's very, very interesting. I've had that thought myself. You know, the idea of things not working out, you have to accept that idea that is a possibility. People want to approach marriage with this idea of, oh, just don't talk about it. There's some fail-proof plan, but no, there really isn't. And I've thought about it myself. What if I was to marry and the marriage did not work out? I would not get remarried. I know that for sure, which is why, one, I don't ignorantly preach every person should be married, because some people have done it before and they've been screwed and they've decided not to. And who am I or who is anyone else to push that on somebody else? And somebody may not have done it and just said, hey, I'm not ready for that type of commitment. But getting remarried after a failed marriage is definitely something I would not be open to. My wife filed a forced abuse claim against me after secretly filing for divorce. Don't believe me? Check it out for yourself. Let's get it.
Being evicted from my house now.
Yeah, immediately, but what we allow you to do is get an overnight bag. All right, so we'll go inside so you can get some of your things.
I have to leave with you?
No, you can drive away.
No. What I'm asking you is, I have to leave right now.
Correct. Yep. So you can go inside, gather up some of your things. We allow you that courtesy. And do you have your car here?
I do.
And then on your own accord, you can leave here, okay?
So you're going to leave and I can leave after you leave? I just have to leave?
We're going to leave. No, we're going to leave with you. We're going to leave together. Okay. You definitely have to leave today, okay?
Got you.
So what we'll do now, go inside, get some of your things.
You need this back?
What's that?
This.
Nope, that's for you.
This is me. Yep. This is me.
It's unfortunate, man. You could tell this guy's devastated by this situation.
Officer, and that's officer. Can I see your eyes, please? Is that okay? All right.
My wife filed a false abuse claim against me in order to initiate a divorce, in order to get an advantage over the property that we have. Out of nowhere, she just filed a false abuse claim against me and had me evicted from the house. Women, in particular, who do this to men are criminals. They are dangerous. They are criminals. My understanding now is that this is a strategy that many women will employ in court in order to take advantage of their husbands and their property. You say I should have seen this coming? She did everything she could to keep me from seeing what she was doing. For the men who have to go through this and the children who have to go through this, I feel sorry for you. This is painful. But the only thing that is going to heal this is justice. If you know someone, or if you are someone and this has happened to you, I'd love to hear from you. There needs to be a movement to stop this. There needs to be a movement so that some strong legislation can be put in place to stop this. This is criminal.
Listen, you want to test that theory. The next time you're out with a couple who've been together for a while and it like seems like they maybe got in a fight or they're just like kind of being, impatient with each other at the table, when you go like a group thing. Just say to them, so tell me about how you met. Tell me the story of how you met. And everything on them changes. Like they go back to that place. And there's this like, oh yeah, and she was this. Because for that second, you go back to that place. Like you can go, someone with a horrible divorce, if you could get them to go to that place and talk to you about that time. Like I would tell you something, when I was a kid, like every kid, you have the fantasy of like, if you were invisible, what would you do? You'd go to the girls' locker room, whatever. I have this fantasy that if I could be invisible, I have about 8 clients that I'd like to sneak into their house and find their wedding album. Like I know it's in the attic somewhere or something, because I would love to see what it looked like when these people loved each other, because they are weaponized against each other now, and we are trying to kill each other, and we're taking every secret, every intimacy, everything, and we're just
at their ugliest.
At their ugliest, at their worst. And there's something in me that just the thought that like, you guys at some point you were like, there's 7.3 billion people in the world and you're the one. Like you're the one I just want to be with and smell and touch and like that feeling. We all know that feeling of like just the electricity of another person, and I think I'm a romantic at heart in the sense that I really get it. Like I really get why we do this. I felt it, I know it, I understand it. But tying that to the technology of marriage to me makes almost no sense whatsoever. And I actually think it's almost antagonistic to that connection.
My understanding now is that this is a strategy that many women will employ in court in order to take advantage of their husbands and their property.
This was sent to me with the message, and shout out to the subscriber that sent this to me via Instagram. Follow me on Instagram, send me content, I always appreciate it. With a new way women are getting the bag. That's what the guy said when he sent the link to this video. So first of all, this isn't a new way that women are getting to the bag. And a lot of women do this. It is a strategy that a lot of women use. And this also points to why content like this is so important, man. Because guys like this gentleman, he's now finding out the potentials of how bad things can get, how low certain women are willing to go when they're going through a very difficult divorce, and it can get very ugly. And a lot of guys are unaware of these type of tactics, and there are many others, which is why I believe as much as people want to come on like channels like the Coffee Pot and think, well, why is the content on here so negative and such, which is why, again, I think a lot of guys who are able to stumble on content like this and understand, because I've talked about these type of tactics. I've reviewed other men who've gone through this. You're lucky if you know about the potentials, because then you can avoid certain things. Like I remember an attorney I was reacting to on my channel who basically said, you want to be careful the type of texts you send when you're going through a divorce, because depending on the woman that you're dealing with, they will use anything, right? You don't want to make threats. You don't want to look like you're angry, unhinged. It's best for you if you're living in the same house. Maybe you just don't want to talk to that person if you don't trust what they're capable of doing. Now, could they lie? Yes, but there are steps you can take so that you can decrease the likelihood of that lie being taken as a whole truth, right? Unfortunately, in situations when a woman says, hey, this guy has been abusive to me, especially if it's physically, they're going to take that woman's word for it. And that is unfortunate. At that point, there really isn't much you can do, right? Sad shit, man. And this is why a lot of guys don't want to get married until laws change. And I don't blame men out here. And if you're somebody who still wants a family like myself, then you need to be paying attention to these type of situations even more. Not to obsess or focus on them, but to understand the gravity of the situation. Listen, guys, as always, we're going to check out some of these comments, which will surprise you. Check this out, right? How do most people, the courts, justice system, respond to a false threat? Well, like these women. For example, this commenter who says, women don't do things out of nowhere. There is always a reason. Oh, really? Right? Let's ask Carly Russell about that. Here's another comment that says, it's two sides to a story. I need to hear her version. Almost every man in jail claims he's innocent. Another woman here added, that's one side of the story. He say out of nowhere, but she probably been told him she wasn't happy. And he, like most men, paid her no attention. ... Now the false abuse is crazy, right? But she had to start out with, defending that woman. It's important to know the laws in your state, man, especially when it comes to divorce and these type of situations, especially if you think you're headed towards this type of a situation. It's important. I remember a video I did a while back of the YouTuber, I forget his name, but anyways, he wanted to check his wife's phone, like look at texts on his wife's phone, and she basically claimed that he was stealing her property, and they came and arrested him and put him in jail. So normal interactions where you may be like, hey babe, let me see your phone, and you guys go back and forth, now can land you in jail, right? So you got to know things kind of change in those type of situations. Here's another comment from another man that says, my ex-wife did the same to me, destroyed a 21-year military career, even though the accusations were unfounded. It put a stigma on me that hurt my career. Very bad, he says. That is very unfortunate. Another man here says, all I see is I need the backstory. Right, because the black man must be the problem. Black women never lie. Hold up. Carly Russell calling me. Be right back. Hilarious. Another comment from another woman says, I know several women who have done this to men. I know several women who have done this to men. She knows several women who have done this to men. This is sad. This is pure hatred. There's a real person. There's a real person behind that individual that you're forcing out of his home. And no one has sympathy for the men, unfortunately. Especially when you're willing to claim things like abuse and you're afraid for your life. We all know how accusations go in the eyes of the public when it comes to men. You're guilty until proved innocent, when it shouldn't be that way. Another comment here from another woman says, why not just file for divorce? ... She's doing too much. Somebody else responded back to her and says, because she wants the house for her and her secret girlfriend or young boyfriend to live in. Goes on to say, because if you claim abuse, it makes the process goes faster for divorce. Another comment here from somebody else says, if the wife doesn't have proof of her getting abused, then I don't believe it. You got to show proof. But this is a terrible situation, even though it's not my business. Another woman here had a question. She says, so out of thin air, she decided to file an abuse statement with police. Y'all were happy and living life, and then boom. I mean, of course, they weren't happy living life. It's not about where their marriage was at as far as their, cooperation. It's about whether he actually did abuse her. And with the broadening of what abuse actually means in our modern day, this is just terrible. And women are victims a lot of the times, right? They're quicker to the draw to play the victim card. Most men don't think this way. Most men don't think, what can I do? I'll just lie. Now, Chisha, are you assuming he's telling the truth? Yes, I am. You could be wrong. Maybe, but most likely not, man. I've seen this. This has happened too many times. And like the chick said there herself, she knows too many women who have done this. And I will say this, a lot of the times it will be their lawyers who would tell them, that that's actually abuse. And they'll be like, really? Yeah, if you do that, you could get him kicked out. And they'll say, okay, well, shit.
When you marry someone, they're supposed to be, at least in the modern Western model, your best friend, best roommate, best co-parent, best travel partner, best roommate, best everything, best activity partner. Like how would one person be all of those things? That's insane. Like if I was interviewing for a job and said, I want you to be the best typist, and I also want you to be best on the phone, and I also want you to be great at that. And I ran down a list of dissimilar things. Like, or if I went to an amazing chef and I said, I know you're a great chef, but can you farm? Like, well, that has to do with food, but they're not the same thing. Like, what are you talking? So I think, why do we put on people this idea, like whoever came up with the word soulmate, really we should be paying, like divorce lawyers should be paying that person dividends. Because we've convinced people that if this person isn't meeting every one of your needs, checking all of these boxes, they're not your soulmate. Your soulmate would know exactly what to do, exactly what to say at exactly the right time.
Yeah. What do you think the secret is to keeping a marriage vital, keeping it alive?
You know, I think people get unhappy in marriages the way that people go bankrupt, which is very slowly and then all at once. I think it's very slow and then it just goes off a cliff. So everybody will say, well, we divorced because he was cheating or she was cheating, or we divorced because he had an alcohol issue or a drug issue, which lately we're seeing more like alcohol and drugs is a big thing, especially post-pandemic. There's a tremendous amount of substance abuse stuff that's causing a lot of issues in marriages. And certainly, like, social media has increased the accessibility of adultery and connections to other people and reconnections with people from your past who remind you of a version of yourself that you felt more excited about because you were younger. So it's, you know, it used to be if you like ran into the girl you banged in high school, it was like once every 10 years at a reunion,
right?
You know, or if you lived in the same town as you grew up in, you know, you might run into the person at the Walmart. But now it's like on Facebook, you have all these excuses to be able to chit chat with someone, and all these benign entry points, you know, of like, oh, you know, I saw your pictures from vacation. Where did you stay in Miami? You know, and then it becomes, oh yeah, well, you looked great. I mean, boy, you look fantastic in a bikini, and then all of a sudden we're off to the races and we're chatting with each other.
All of a sudden you're in them cheeks, man, hitting up those exes, saying, hey, how you doing? Been a long time. Let's keep watching.
So you know, if we were going to invent like an infidelity machine, you couldn't do better than Facebook and Instagram. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. But I I genuinely think that the secret to staying happy in a marriage is probably the same secret to maintaining a healthy weight. You know, don't wait till you get super fat and then try to lose the weight. Don't wait until you get really sick. Like my sister is a dentist, and she always says, if you have a toothache, there's nothing I can do really. Like I can pull the tooth, I can give you a root canal, but like I can prevent you from getting a toothache. If you just come see me regularly and you just floss and you just brush your teeth, you'll never get a toothache. By the time your tooth hurts, something is already seriously wrong. By the time you're in a divorce lawyer's office, you're the whole thing's at that point.
My wife wants a divorce.
All right, we're gonna try this selfie video shit. So today's Thanksgiving. It's first Thanksgiving. Being separated, coming up on mediation in a couple of weeks. So my ex texted me. First of all, I don't want this. I don't want to be divorced. I want to stay married. She sent a text yesterday, and was like, I'm grateful for you, and I want to acknowledge like the things that you are in my life, or just like expressing gratitude, right? It kind of made me feel special until I found out that, well, she sent kind of that to everybody, and then I felt diminished and minimized, and all that. And then she sent a text this morning, and I saw something that was kind of interesting, and it's something that the uncoupling people do, but it's when you're trying to lessen the triggers, or I like to think of it like a euphoric recall, when you're saying your ex's name, right? To minimize it, you use like the letter or the initial, you don't write the full name or anything like that. And so I saw that for the first time in the text she sent me. She used a K instead of saying my name. And again, don't think you're different or above your wife saying, hey, I want a divorce, I'm not happy, I don't know who the I am, and I need something different. Midlife crises are real. The grass is greener is a huge pull on people. So yeah. So happy Thanksgiving. Yeah.
All right, guys. So a heartfelt message here from a guy on his TikTok who's going through a divorce. And these type of videos often stand out to me a little bit more because, as you guys know, I've been very open about me getting married in the future. There's something he said there that I always keep in mind, right? He says, don't ever think you're different or above going through divorce. And as somebody, as a man who wants a family, right? As somebody who wants to have kids eventually, I've thought of the best possible scenario at this. And that, of course, is number one, not getting divorced, right? I've always known that a woman could still leave the situation. What do you hope for? You hope that by then your children have grown up in a two-parent household and they are adults, and you kind of shield them from growing up in separate households, etc. I know what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to go into marriage blindly, right? Because things obviously need to change when it comes to the divorce laws. And again, I've stressed on numerous occasions, and some people may be tired of hearing it, I don't push for men not to get married or to get married. There are plenty of viewers on this channel who listen to my content who want me to tell men, don't get married, right? They would love for me to say that. And there's other guys who want me to say, get married because it's the Christian thing to do. Nah, no. And I won't encourage that. I think every man needs to be informed, like I always say, and then make his own decision. But I know there's guys out there who, when people do things, they want people to live life the way that they live them. I just say don't be misinformed. You would think because you consume this type of content, you would think most people do the research and prepare for things like this. No. People meet people They mix each other's income. Now they have that marital income mixed in together. They have kids and plenty of them. And then the wife leaves. This is a lot of men, right, who think, oh, I just got to find that one who loves me. People aren't out here getting informed.
Now again, get married as many times as you want if you have a prenup. If you have a prenup, go get married. Getting married's a blast. Being married is difficult. You know, someone once said that it's great to be married sometimes. The problem is you're married all the time.
So you're a fan of prenups?
I'm a huge fan of prenups. I mean,
Yes, sir. Get that prenup. Protect yourself. Protect yourselves out here. If you're a man who still values marriage today.
I shouldn't be, because a prenup for a couple of $1,000s will save you hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially in legal fees, if not millions. So there are clients I have that have spent over $1 million just in their legal fees, that if they had spent $2,000 on a prenup, none of that. They'd still have that money in their pocket. And that's incredible to me. Like, I have 2 sons who are adults that they are absolutely going to have prenups. Like, they have to have prenups. They'd be fools to not have prenups. It's like jumping out of a plane with no parachute. Why would you do that?
When the divorce attorney is telling you you're foolish to not have a prenup, you should probably have a prenup. And a lot of guys try to argue that the prenup isn't holding you water. Well, that's why you want to make sure that you have attorney help you write up that prenup. A lot of people do a lot of idiotic things when it comes to writing up a prenup.
You know, it's stupid. Prenups are enforceable. They make sense. I actually think there's something very romantic about prenups, because they're forcing you to have a conversation about this relationship. Like, I genuinely believe that we are the most aware of our health just after we got sick, right? Like, if you wake up and you have a toothache, all you can think about is the fact your tooth hurts. Mm-hmm. And then your toothache goes away. And for like a week,
You're taking care of your teeth.
you go, oh my God, at least I don't have a toothache, you know? But then a month goes by and you don't wake up and go, well, at least I don't have a toothache. You know, it's the furthest thing from your mind. But theoretically, you could wake up today and go, I don't have a toothache, I don't have a backache, I don't have a head cold. Like, this is a great day.
What does a typical prenup look like?
The easiest prenup in the world, easiest, yours, mine, ours. That's it. Yours, mine, ours. If in your name, it's yours. If it's in my name, it's mine.
Like in a divorce, everything, all the assets are split 50-50.
Well, no, what you say in a prenuptial agreement is, if it's an asset or a liability, if it's in my name, it's mine. If it's in your name, it's yours. If it's in our joint names, we'll divide it 50-50. That's it. Yours, mine, ours. And then you have to have ongoing conversations throughout the marriage about, you know, hey, I got this bonus at work. Do I put it in my account? Do I put it in the joint account?
But if the husband owns
Right.
a house that's worth, whatever, $2 million, and he marries a woman, the house is his still?
Well, they have to have a conversation.
That's an awkward,
Do I owe you a house?
that's an awkward conversation.
Okay. You know what's a more awkward conversation? A conversation 10 years later with a lawyer about the fact that you have to give half of this house away to someone. Isn't it better to have that conversation when you still, like, why would you learn how to fight in a fight?
But won't that undermine the love that each person feels?
Why? You're gonna die. Does that undermine your life? Or does it make you conscious of the fact that this is finite and that you should be out there? Like, I think having a conversation with your partner about, look, I love you, you love me, we want to do this thing together, but the numbers are against us and the world is antagonistic to it, and I hope we'll be together forever. But if we split up, what do we owe each other? What do you expect from me? Because I have to tell you something, I'm a fair person. I'm a fair person. If you say to me, you know, Jim, if I'm not going to work as hard because you make a good living. So if we split up, I'm going to need help for a couple of years because I'm not going to pay attention to my career.
Right.
Hey, is that unreasonable? That's totally reasonable.
Right.
You know, if I say,
And by the way, guys, this right here is where a lot of guys mess up, because they think the approach to the prenup is, I want to keep as much as I can to myself, or assets, etc. No. The prenup is there so that you're not spending all that money on attorney fees, so that the attorneys aren't eating off you and the family court judges. It lessens you sharing those assets with a third party. And prenups to get thrown out, because a lot of guys like to think, oh, if she's under duress or whatever, they'll throw those prenups out. Prenups that get thrown out are usually prenups that aren't practical. You can't say if you divorce, you don't get anything at all. That prenup is most likely to get thrown out because any judge is going to look at that and say, well, this is unreasonable. She's a mother to kids and you guys live together and work together and have all this income and assets. You want to at least be reasonably fair. What you don't want is for them to take away the majority of your assets, which is what often happens when you don't sign a prenup, is that you get put in a worse position than the woman in most cases. Let's keep listening.
Say, hey, listen, I have this house and I bought it, but I'm buying it with money that I made really before we were together. So if we split up, I don't really think you deserve half of it. I think that if we bought things for it together, that, okay, those things you can half of, but the house itself, like that's money I had before I met you. And why can't you have that conversation? Why not? Instead, you buy a house. You do a HUD one, a lead paint disclosure. You got to sign all these things that this is how much the interest is going to be, and this is what you get married and you get a pamphlet. You don't get anything. You just did the most legally significant thing you're ever going to do other than die, and no one has explained any of it to you. People come into my office and they go, "Well, my retirement account, that's in my name," and I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's in your name. Okay, was it acquired during the marriage? Okay, she's got half of it." Well, I have this bank account, but it's in my sole name. It's money that I inherited from my mom. I'm like, okay, and it's in your name. Yeah, but you inherited that money during the marriage. Yeah, and did you put money that you earned during the marriage in that account also? Yeah, okay, that's commingled and transmuted. That's now marital property.
Right.
So they don't know that. Why? Because no one tells them that when they're getting married. You spend more time talking about the cake than you do talking about the fact that you just opted out of the title system.
Insane. Absolutely insane. The most people aren't watching these type of videos, watching this type of content, and are headed towards marriage. All you have to do is put 1 cent of your own money or her money, as in if you intermingle your money and her money in an account, $2, it now becomes a marital asset.
That's gigantic. You can't legally change the beneficiary of your life insurance, even to your children if you're married, without your spouse signing a consent to that. No one tells you that when you can get married. Elvis can marry you for $20 at a drive-through cathedral. And it's a legal status, a massive legal. You buy your spouse a Rolex, you bought yourself one half of a Rolex. You buy someone a birthday present who you're married to, you bought yourself one half of that birthday present. Nobody knows. People don't know that. They learn that for the first time in my office or in a courtroom. That's insane. What other thing in the world, like anything else, any other contract, you would say, well, wait a minute, no one explained that to me. No one explained that to me. When I leased this car, no one explained to me that there's wear and tear. It doesn't say it anywhere in the contract, right? Okay. Marriage contract doesn't say that. It doesn't say, oh, and by the way, you're opting out of the title system and your retirement assets and all these other things. And if there's any debts, and you could have enhanced earning capacity or celebrity goodwill that has to be valued by forensic accountants that'll cost you $100,000. No contract that says that. It just says, yep, we're getting married. It's 2 witnesses. We're good. Like, what other contract in the United States or anywhere has that lack of disclosure and is that binding? None. Zero. None. So why a prenup? Yes, that's an awkward conversation, I guess. I don't know that it has to be. And I have to tell you, the more awkward of a conversation it is, the more you should think twice about getting married. Because if you can't have a conversation with this person about the possibility that someday one or both of you might hurt each other, like, how many people, while they're still happy and in love, say something like, babe, I love you, but we're going to disagree about something at some point. And when we do, how do you like to fight? Like, do you need a minute? Like, do you need to be alone for a minute so you can kind of calm down? Or are you hey, we got to figure this out and we can't go to bed angry? Because let's talk about that now while we're not in a fight. Let's talk about it now while we still get along and we're happy and we're trying to figure out how to navigate each other. It's hard enough to navigate yourself. I want to navigate another human being. Why don't we have that conversation now? But no, we don't. We learn on the job. We learn how to fight in a fight. Which is insane, But again, why? Well, because it's awkward. It'd be awkward to have that conversation. More awkward than getting in a fight where you don't know the rules of engagement, where you don't know how your partner does better or would feel better. And you're not going to ask them that in the heat of battle, So why wouldn't you have that awkward conversation while you have this abundance of affection for each other? I mean, when I negotiate prenups, it's the easiest thing in the world in a sense, because these two people really like each other. They're about to get married. So they're clearly not trying to kill each other. At that point, they clearly like each other. So you just say, hey, listen, go home, talk to your fiance about X, Y, and Z, and see what they think. And tell them what your concern is. And very often people will come back and say to me, I mean, I have to tell you, I've been doing this now, over 20 years. I do a lot of prenups. I do maybe 5, 6 prenups a month. Sometimes during pre-wedding season, which is the fall and before the summer, I'll do 10, 15 a month. The people who say to me, oh, well, I don't want to have that conversation. They get the prenup, and within 3, 4 years, they're divorced. Sometimes 5 years and then 7 years, but they're the ones who get divorced. They have no business getting married. The ones who have the discussion and figure out well, I'm worried because if you keep the place, yeah, you're right. Okay, so what if I give you this amount of money and it's this much for each year? Okay, yeah, that's cool. Let's do it that way. Those people, they'll probably never put the prenup in a safe someplace. You'll never look at it probably.
Good.
That is so telling, and it makes so much sense. The more difficult it is to have that prenup conversation with your partner, that usually should tell you that they're not as grounded in the reality of what marriage actually is and the gravity of the situation and the potential downfalls of what can happen and the consequences of a bad marriage. They're probably thinking, why do we need to have this conversation? Everything is going to go perfect.
No, I'll have a tea, actually.
That makes sense. And the more readily someone is to discuss the whole prenup discussion, then the more realistic they probably are approaching the marriage. David Goggins gives advice to man who says to him, hey, David, what do I do? My wife is trying to divorce me. No more wasting time. Let's get it.
Said your wife wants to divorce you?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean.
Hey, brother. First off, want to honor you. Thank you for pouring into Ryan, who pours into us. Seriously, thank you for doing that. I have a PC question, and then the one I really need to ask. So
A PC
I'm
question?
just going to ask the real question, if that's all right. The one I'm scared to ask.
Go ahead.
Safe place, right? My wife told me a week ago she's going to divorce me because she wants easy and something different. It's in my head.
You said your wife wants to divorce you?
Yeah, she's about to.
Yeah, you brought that
And
shit
nobody does.
live, boy.
Yeah. And it's in my head, my self-confidence, and what's your advice on how to
Great answer
navigate
this
through it?
shit. Honestly?
Yeah.
Have you been good to her?
Yeah.
Real good?
I can do better.
I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
I'm not trying to be mean. She doesn't want you anymore. Okay?
Yeah.
That's a hard reality.
Yeah.
I've had several that don't want me anymore. And it hurt, lost weight, gained weight, couldn't sleep, crazy. While that was out there getting chilling out, going to the club, and I'm miserable, wasting time while she's living. It's a real easy answer. You gotta get back out there. I'm not saying get back on the horse, but you gotta stop the feelings you feel right now.
Yeah.
There's something, like I said, there's something that everybody's dealing with. And your feelings are the one thing in life that will hurt you from moving forward. It'd be different if she still loved you.
Yeah.
And there was an issue going on. If she wants to divorce you, she's done with you, man. Suck that shit, move on. Seriously, there's no answer for that.
Okay.
You're a good man. I can tell you're a good man, and it hurts. That shows what kind of man you are. Which is why you say, we're good, man. Have a good life. Call her tonight. We're good. I'll give you the divorce, and you step out. Because there's a whole bunch of women who like your
All right, guys, there you go. Some advice from David Goggins, man. I really like David and actually pretty consistent with keeping up with a lot of his content. What do you guys think of what he had to say in response to the man who wanted advice on what he should do with his wife who says she wants a divorce and is pretty set and bent on following through with it? Let's check out some of these comments. Let's see what other people had to say. First comment here says, if she wants a divorce, give her one. Move on and focus on yourself. Don't give in when she crawls back. And a lot of them do end up coming back. Somebody else here added, respect to the man who stood up and openly said this. Much respect. Hopes he's good now. Another person here said, Goggins is the kind of friend you want to have. Wounds of a friend are always better than kisses from an enemy. Yeah, those were definitely some bitter words to hear. There is a right time to encourage somebody to move on, because somewhere inside of him, he wants to hear comforting words of, it's going to be okay. You can win her back. But if she's set on divorcing you, the best thing you can do for yourself is focus on an exit strategy to get your mind right, to get yourself in a healthier position, because you can't make somebody want you, but you do have the power to walk away, and that is a power.
I had a client who I did her divorce, and we'd spend a lot of time together, because you do. You know, when you're a divorce lawyer, you spend a lot of time with people and you get to know them very well. I mean, people will lie to their therapist. They won't lie to their divorce lawyer because A, there's no reason to, and B, I need to know everything, and it's all attorney-client privilege. And this woman, we were sitting outside the courtroom waiting on a break in testimony, and she was a young woman in her probably like late 30s, very attractive. And we were just chit-chatting, and I said to her, was there a moment when you realized the marriage is over? Like, was there a moment? And she said, yeah. And I said, when was it? And she said, there was this granola that I like. She said, they only sold it at like this particular grocery store, and I like to put it in my yogurt. And she said, he used to always, whenever I'd be running low on it, I would just open the thing one day and a new bag would be there. She's like, and she's like, it made me feel so loved. Like, I didn't have to ask. He didn't want credit for it. Like, he didn't go like, oh, did you see? I got your granola that you wanted, Like, he just would do this thing, And she said it was just something that, like, it always made me smile. She said every time the granola was running low and there was a new bag of granola, I just felt very loved, And she said one day the granola ran out. And I thought, oh, that's weird. Maybe he didn't see it. She's like, so I left the bag in there because I thought, well, at some point he'll notice. And he didn't notice. She goes, so I took the bag out and I waited and he didn't get a new bag. And I thought, okay, this thing's going down. And I thought to myself, wow, that's like, that's such a small thing, like granola. Like, you just, but these are the things, like, these are the little things that make us feel loved and that are gestures of love. And when I said to her, was there anything like that for you with him? And she said, yeah, blowjobs. And I almost spit out my coffee.
Oh, there we go. We found it, guys. The man drinks coffee. Guys, I don't pick these videos. It just so happens to be that when it makes sense, it's usually coming from an addict to caffeine. Let's keep listening. Drink the coffee, make you feel better.
And she goes, no. She goes, when we were first dating and even first married, she's like, I used to give him blowjobs a lot. She's like, she's like, do it in the morning, took 2 minutes. And he was like super happy the rest of the day, She's like, the rest.
Hold on, we're not going to skip over the 2 minutes. Listen, if it's done in 2 minutes, that's a good blowjob. Let's keep listening.
The rest of the day, he would like call me or text me and be like, oh, that was so good this morning. I had such pep in my step now. And she's like, it was just like, what did it really take out of my life to do that? And it made him feel good. She's like, and then I got to a point where I was like, well, you know what? No, I'll wait. And then tonight we can have sex and we'll both enjoy that. Like, what do I owe him a blowjob? Like, no, like, I don't owe him that, And then she said, I got to a point where it was like, I look back and I'm like, yeah, I guess I didn't do that as often, hardly ever really,
Which came first?
I said that to her and she said, I couldn't tell you. She said, but I think it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
And I do think it's the same thing. Yeah. And I'm not saying blowjobs and granola is all you need to know, but, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying that that a blowjob is a small thing. I don't think I have any right to. I've never given one. But it seems like a phenomenal feat, and I'm grateful for every one I've ever received. But I don't...
Yo, real quick, we know what came first. We know that blowjob came first. She set the standard with the blowjob, and so he reciprocated with the granola. They didn't stay together when they first met, right? So the blowjob came first. Oh, show.
I don't think it's a massive investment, right? Just like buying someone's granola is not a massive.
But when you love somebody, you love doing things for them.
Right, their pleasure
you love
pleases
making
you.
their life better.
Their joy pleases you. Like their happiness makes you happy.
Exactly.
And somewhere along the line, and it happens a lot in marriage, it becomes, well, I'm not happy, why should you be happy? You know? And then that creates a spiral. And I really believe that that spiral could go in the other direction. Like if he did the granola, I think the blowjobs would have come. You know, and if the blowjobs were there, I bet he'd have bought the granola. Like I can't prove that. There's no control group. You know, I can't run that research. But it feels to me like those little things, like leaving a note. You know, I've said to some of my friends, you know, when they say to me, like, you know, as a divorce lawyer, you know, you see all this misery, like, how do I stay out of your office? And I'll often say, I'm like, it's dumb little things, man. I'm like, just leave her a note. I'm like, leave her a note in the morning. Just leave a little note, says, hey, beautiful. You know, it was so fun watching that movie with you last night. So glad we got to have a date. I'll be thinking of you today. Love you. Like, what does that take? That takes like a minute, not even. Like, and look what it can do. Like, look at how that makes this person feel. And
Guys, I hate to be this guy, but why her? Why leave her a note instead of the other way around? I know. Listen, I know that it doesn't taste good, but you got to drink it because she will be the one who most likely initiates the divorce.
even if right away it doesn't work, on that moment it doesn't work, okay, do it enough times. Like, and then you're either going to figure out that this person's gone and then just fail. You're done. Because if you try for long enough and you give like that, but if you're not giving like that, and then you're not getting back either, well, I'm not surprised. You know, that's how you end up in my office, is this death spiral of everyone like, well, I'm not buying the granola, she's not giving me blowjobs. Well, I'm not giving him blowjobs, he's mean to me. Okay, well, everybody's just has an equal right to be miserable then.
My wife, who's been married to me for 25 years, left me for my brother-in-law, who's been married to my sister for 26 years. I'll say that again, just in case you missed it. My wife.
Did you know that your average weekly shop costs less at Walmart than at any other major grocery store?
For 25 years, left me for my brother-in-law, who's been married to my sister for 26 years.
For those of you who don't know me, my wife of 25 years, she left me for my brother-in-law, who's married to my sister for 26 years. This happened Thanksgiving a little over a year ago. So I filed for divorce this past February. Mm-hmm. Now, why it took that long, you know, when you've been married to somebody for that long and something like this happens out of nowhere and you felt like everything was right and perfect and good and nothing happened that wasn't fixable. We had good communication, I thought, and then all of a sudden she's with him. Super selfish, unbelievable. But for the longest time I thought I could talk her back into coming back. I thought I could fix things. So I kept pulling that out there. And then eventually I realized that what she was trying to do was get me to say something, to message, email something, to text something that would, that she could use against me in court. Try to get money, try to get whatever she could. So that was the point when I was like, well, I guess I've got to protect myself and file for divorce. Anyway, it's been dragging on. We've had some court appearances and some other stuff. Some things have happened there that's been out of control. I mean, she brought him to a court appearance. Couldn't believe it. But
wow.
Anyway, you know, the interesting thing about the last court appearance was that she showed up and I could have cared less. Like I didn't even like hold on, I'm getting the text. Okay, that was nothing. But I could have cared less to see her. So that was interesting. But eventually this will work out. It'll be As far as the kids, yeah, I still have my youngest daughter living with me. She's been a great support. You know, she had moved in with me and my wife again, moved back in with us right before this thing had happened, and she stayed with me ever since. Her boyfriend cheated on her, so she came back. My middle daughter, yeah, she's been a great support as well. She lives with her boyfriend here locally, and then I haven't talked to my son much, but that's a whole different story. He's with her. He's 25. As far as dating, oh my God, the dating scene. Oh Lord. Yeah.
I feel you, bro.
I've been dating. Probably shouldn't, honestly. I mean, now I understand, I think, why people say you should be, you know, waiting a month for every year you were married, because man, there's some deep-seated things that happen in your head when stuff like this goes down, and you don't want to drag that into somebody else's life. But yeah, I've been toying with it. It's been fun. I've actually had a lot of fun. Met some really, really great people.
Busting cheeks.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
Your parents stayed married?
Yeah, my parents stayed married until my mother passed away.
Same with me.
But they were mixed results. I think that my parents were not as caught up in their own happiness. I think we're very caught up in our own happiness.
We're all very
Yeah, we're all very sort of, I don't want to say narcissistic, but we're very much like we are the sun around which everything revolves.
What am I not getting?
Yeah, my father was a Vietnam veteran. You know, he got out of the Naval Academy in '66 and went to Vietnam for 3 years. So he was alive. So he was like, head, I'm playing with the house's money, I'm alive. Everybody in their wedding party had died. All the men in their wedding party died in Vietnam. There's 5 guys in their wedding party, and they all died in Vietnam. My parents never looked at their wedding album because every single man in it was dead. They were all helicopter pilots in Vietnam who got killed in their 20s. You know, so they didn't really see marriage as like it was a partnership. It was like, yeah, we're gonna do this thing. We're gonna have kids, we're gonna raise the kids, we're gonna, you know, we're gonna have a house, you know, we're gonna have a car, like we'll be successful. The lights are on. My father was dirt poor. He came from like Appalachian part of Virginia, a small town called Shawsville. Didn't have indoor plumbing until he left for the Naval Academy. And he just, I think he saw marriage as, yeah, it's what you do, you know? He met my mom on Fleet Week. She was a nurse in the city. And he was, you know, on Fleet Week, and he had his uniform on, and he was in a bar, and he was drunk. And he went to her, and he said, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and I'm gonna marry you, because he was drunk. And she said, are you in the military? Because he was wearing a uniform. And he said, yep. And she said, what country? And he said, whatever country you're from. And he invited her to visit him at the Naval Academy a couple of weeks later, and she came. But he'd invited 3 other women.
Woo! Let's go, City Boys.
He just didn't know if any of them would come. So he'd invited all of them. So my mom got there, and she saw these other women, and she said, either I'm leaving or they're all leaving. And he was like, I kind of like her, so he made them all leave. And they were married 50 plus years. But, you know, their marriage had challenges. You know, he was an alcoholic. He's been in recovery for maybe 7, 8 years since she passed. But, and he's remarried. But he remarried within a year of my mom dying. Like, he was the kind of, he's of a generation of men that he needed someone to take care of him. You know, my mom died. He didn't even know how to scramble an egg. Like, it was, you know,
wow.
Like after she passed, I had him come to stay with me and my sons, and I was trying to like teach him, like, okay, Dad, here's how you make like a batch of chili, and then you can eat it all week, you know. And I was like, how's this guy gonna, because they had this very, you know, but that's what he met another older woman, and her husband had died. She needed someone to take care of. He needed someone to take care of him.
But that generation didn't have it as easy as we did.
That's what I'm saying. Like
they were
just
they were grateful.
Meeting your basic needs, right?
They were grateful to be alive.
They were grateful to be alive because they'd either been through war.
We're not grateful unless we're driving a Mercedes or a.
And even then, we're not grateful because the truth is well, okay, a Mercedes, but what's a Mercedes? Who cares? You know how many people have a Mercedes? My secretary has a Mercedes. She leases it. You know, I drive a Jeep. So is she better than me? Is she more successful than me? She works for me. You know, so I don't know that any of it's enough anymore.
Right.
Like, no matter what watch you have, somebody's got another one or a better one or 5 of them.
Right.
This comparison that we see.
It's all. And so I just think that's the thing that makes it impossible, right? Like if you're, our parents' generation was struggling to just make it through, right? To meet your basic needs, to keep a roof over your head, to raise your children. And now where it's very much, are you self-actualized? Are you happy? Do you have 8-pack abs? Like, it would never have occurred to my father, did he have an 8-pack? It would never have been something he thought of, you know? It's just not. It just wasn't on his radar, you know? And I don't think my mother would have ever been like, oh, you know, he doesn't have an 8-pack. Like, that wouldn't, because again, though, it's not constantly being advertised to him.
It sounds like he's saying social media is to blame, or at least social media has a very strong influence when it comes to comparison of our own lives and also relationships. That is very true. I'd agree with that. I'll definitely agree with that. And people will do this. People will bring up other couples they see pictures of and say things like, oh, did you see this one couple? Or what do you think when you see this other couple? And they don't know what that couple is going through in their own lives.
You know, I think that how many women did he interact with in a day? You know, how many women do I interact with in a day, visually or personally in some fashion, or you know, in a curated, mediated way? And again, those are curated women, by the way. So they're photoshopped, they're airbrushed, they've got filters on them. So again, you know, how does marriage survive in that setting? It had a hard enough time surviving without all of that. I mean, forget kids.
The divorce rate keeps increasing, right?
Yeah, it keeps going up. It keeps going up. It's been hanging around 53 to 56% for a while. We had a bump after COVID.
What are other countries like?
Countries that have a significant religious narrative have the lowest divorce rates. So the lowest divorce rates are in, like, you know, Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, but they don't have a whole lot of choice.
Right, you're not allowed to divorce. You just have your wife killed, you know, so that's, you don't have to divorce. So the countries where there is this very strict religious prohibition against marriage, or against divorce.
But I mean, the United States is probably the highest divorce rate?
We're among the highest, yeah. I don't think we're the high, we might be the highest now. For a while, Germany had a very high divorce rate. France had a pretty high divorce rate. What's interesting is the divorce rate and the marriage satisfaction rates. Those are different. Because most people, the goal is not, can we stay married? The goal is, can we stay happily married? You know? Because if somebody said to me, like, yeah, I've been married 25 years and I've been miserable for 15 of them, like, I'm not going to envy you. Like, great job, you really hung in there in that awful situation, you know? Like,
it's meeting your new family doctor and feeling at ease. It's seeing your grandchildren clearly again. It's performing thousands more surgeries each year. It's care when and where you need it. See all the ways we're connecting you to care.
That's not impressive to me, you know? I have a cousin who got married, and I was chatting with her. She's a younger woman, and her husband just joined the police force. And I said to him, so I was trying to make small talk, and I said, so do you like it? And he's from a family of cops. And he said, nah, not really, but you know, I'm gonna do like the 20 years and then, you know, you get your pension. I thought, I'll just do my 20, that's 20 years.
Right.
You're 25 years old. That's 25 to 45. Those are incredible years. You'll never get those back. And your approach to life is, yeah, I mean, I don't like it, but I'll just kind of do it, you know? Like, I want to tiptoe through life and arrive safely at death. Like, that seems, you know, but I get that that's what if that's what marriage is, if it's an endurance event, you know, where, no, you've got to stay married, you know. Why? I mean, that's why I think religions have been very quick to, I mean, I always tell people I'm not religious. I was raised very Catholic. But the reality is that you know, I mean, if in fact God talked to humanity with 10 commandments, I think it's hilarious that the only thing he has to say twice is don't people you're not married to. Thou shalt not kill, once, right? Honor the Sabbath, once. Don't covet your neighbor's wife, don't commit adultery. It's the only thing. It's the only thing that got 2 commandments. So like basically it was don't kill, honor the Sabbath, don't people you're not married to. Seriously, don't f people you're not married to.
Right.
Like, there's no, you didn't, thou shalt not steal one. You know, it's the only one that got double billing.
Well, religion's a big component.
It's a huge component too. But why? Because how else are you going to control people? How else are you going to get people to sign on for this thing and not sleep with each other? I mean, I'm not saying Freud was right, but we do want to sleep with people. We do want to kill people that don't do what we want them to do. Like, we have these animal instincts. We have these impulses. And what do we do with them? Well, we have to live in a civilized society. So civilization, it's discontents. We have to suppress certain things.
If marriage was outlawed or just abolished, would it just be a free-for-all?
I don't know that that's true. I mean, I think people would like us to believe that's true. You know, I don't believe that. Like, I don't believe that if murder wasn't illegal, that I would just go killing people. Like, I and murder as many people as I want to, which is none, because I'm not a monster. Like, I as many people as I want to, none. Because I don't want to. I wouldn't want to do that to another person.
I think society would be probably happier without marriage.
Well, I think we would have a lot less of the damage that comes, right?
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I agree with that. I think those laws are put down because, personally, this is what I believe. We definitely are capable of doing some atrocious things. A lot of people think they're a lot more righteous than they really are. A lot of people have never gone without a meal. A lot of people have never gone without shelter. A lot of people have never been put in a position where they don't know where their next meal is going to come from. I'm not talking about running out of money and having to wait for your check. No, I'm talking about homeless, no way of surviving. Who would you become in that situation? I believe most people don't know just how capable of evil they really are. Now, on the topic of marriage, if they abolished marriage, would we just enter this hedonistic way of approaching life of just constantly chasing pleasures? I definitely think not enough people think about the reasons they're getting married, and people just get married because they think they're supposed to, and then end up realizing that they wish they would have never gotten married in the first place. And I think a lot of people would benefit from questioning the reasons for that marriage or that union. And maybe marriage not becoming the norm would help more people avoid the pitfalls of divorce and the trauma that comes with it. Open conversation, guys. Comment down below. What do you think? Let's keep listening.
I think we'd have to find new narratives to structure, to define relationships, right? I mean, I do think there is a part of us that wants to say, because, you know, I as a grown man who's divorced, when you're 20 and you say, oh, that's my girlfriend, nobody thinks anything of it. When you're 50 and you say, oh, that's my girlfriend, people go, oh, there's a story there. Like, because you're either divorced or commitment phobic, or what, why do you have a girlfriend when you're 50? Why isn't that your wife?
Right.
So they know there's a story there. So we'd have to, and I get it, because if someone says, oh, that's my boyfriend, it's like, all right, well, that could be for a week. That could have been nothing. That could be like, yeah, it's my boyfriend. My husband, it's like, oh, okay, wait, that's her husband. Like, she's got some authority there. So I get that there's this idea that we want to say, like, you know, it's like when you're a little kid. This is my friend, but this is my best friend. You know, this is my best friend. But like, how many adults still need to say that? Like, how many adults still need to say, oh, my friend Todd and I, and my best friend Tom and I? Like, okay, like, so the extra special friend? Like, what do they, is there, like, do they get health insurance with that? Like, what is the deal with that? So I think that's kind of what marriage has become, is it's like, you know, well, the person I love. No, but like the person I love. Like, there's a lot of people I love. I wouldn't want to be married to any of them. But there's a lot of people I love, you know. And I love my ex-wife. I wouldn't want to be married to her. I think she loves me. She wouldn't want to be married to me. I don't blame her. I'm a great ex-husband. I'm a terrible husband. I'm a great ex-husband. Because the skill set for an ex-husband is totally different than the skill set for a husband. Skill set for a father is completely different than that of a husband. That's the thing I have to tell people all the time. All the time. People say, well, he's a terrible husband, so he shouldn't have custody of the kids. I'm like, what the where's the overlap between being a good husband and being a good father?
It's the feminist gynocentric society trying to convince you that if you cannot please a woman in a relationship, then you must be a bad person in every other area of your life. Completely ridiculous, guys. Do not fall for this shit at all. Even in relationships and in marriages, you can't fall for that. Now, in the context of, let's say you leave in a marriage that you decided to commit to, and you are the problem and the reason why that marriage broke up, and you're well aware that you decided to commit to it and stick with that marriage till death do you part, and you were going to stay through thick and thin, and then you leave and decide to initiate that divorce, I think that's a true sign of somebody who's willing to sacrifice the happiness of the children. And a lot of women do that, and they justify it by saying, oh, because of the way you treated me, I'm now going to put these children at a statistical disadvantage. And guys, listen, this is why I say, if you're somebody who's willing to get married today, make sure you find somebody who's willing to work through everything, including infidelity. And people have this line of like, well, that should never happen. It happens. All this happens. The idea that something like that will never happen, and the idea that your wife may never cheat on you, or you may never cheat on your wife, is crazy, because it's a part of the relationship. Everything must be discussed, including the potential for the relationship not to work, prenup, etc. Now, in no ways here when I say that am I telling guys to cheat or not to cheat. You just want to make sure you discuss every single scenario, so that you know what you're getting yourself into. Because for a lot of women today, if they're not happy, for the modern woman, and even some traditional women who think they're ready for marriage, they're looking for reasons to leave that marriage, right? They're looking for all types of reasons. You got to know how they respond in every single situation. Now, that's just my 2 cents. You guys go ahead and do as you please. Let's keep listening.
Like, being a good father is a whole different skill. You could be a great husband and a shit father, and you could be an amazing father and terrible husband. Like, there's very little overlap in those skill sets. You know, maybe good listening skills would be helpful in both, or patience would be good in both, but that's true of almost anything. You know, it's a doctor and a lawyer. Both be good if you had good listening skills. It doesn't mean they're the same profession. So,
is divorce harder on women or men?
That's a great question. I think it's equally hard on both, but I think that the world is more sympathetic to women when they get divorced. I think when a woman gets cheated on, the man's a piece of shit. And when a woman cheats on a man, she must have been forced into the arms of this other man, or she had to explore herself, or she was being neglected in some fashion. And
right.
so if a man cheats, he's a piece of garbage. And if a man's wife cheats, he mustn't have been meeting her needs, and she had every right in the world. Like, so the world is very unsympathetic
to men, right?
To men when they get divorced.
But
that's facts. And another thing I'll add here is, remember that when the woman cheats, she bonds with that man. She does not choose to bond with that man. She bonds with that man based on most women's biological makeup. She now feels like she belongs to that man. This is not me. I just did a video about this, and the science went into some depth. Men don't get the same type of bonding chemical, which is why a lot of times men will say, you know, I don't really care about that, especially if it's a one-time thing. And a lot of couples here, women will work with the man, but men will have a difficult time forgiving a woman in that situation, because on a level, we understand that. We understand that there's something about that man that you had to really like, some attraction you had to have for you to want to bond with him sexually. Whereas a guy could be anything. You don't even necessarily have to be attracted to that woman, which is why a lot of times when these women step out, they're gone, bro. Let's keep listening.
So that's been throughout hers.
Yeah, that's been for, I mean, there was a maternal presumption, a legal presumption, what was called the tender years doctrine, which was that if a child was under the age of 7, they were automatically presumed that they would be in the custody of the mother. And men get really beat up still in court. I mean, the law theoretically is gender blind right now, but I don't actually see that, because the law is people. The law is judges, and judges are human, and they have all the same biases. And it's just not a moment right now where men are particularly sympathetic characters. You know, I think that, you know, even young men. I mean, if at a school dance they sing Beyonce's "Girls Who Runs the World," like if there was a song called "Men Who Runs the World," men, and it was a positive thing. Like, you get pilloried for that. So I think that men have a very hard time right now in divorce. They see their children less. They get hit harder financially. They are the bad guy no matter what. If they cheat, they're the bad guy. If they get cheated on, they were the bad guy because they probably neglected her. There's a presumption that the man is to blame a lot of the time. Now, again, you know, marriage equality has been a thing for a while. So there are, you know, tons of gay couples. So you have 2 men, 2 women divorcing each other. And that hasn't really shook out too much yet in terms of how that plays out. I don't know if it's that gay and lesbian couples are better at it than heterosexual couples, or if it's still they're in the honeymoon period because, you know, marriage equality hasn't been around that long. But I think men find a less sympathetic world. But in fairness, divorced men have it a little easier, I think. Divorced men meet a young woman and the woman's like, instant family, just add me. That's great. You know, if he's got kids, it's like, oh, he's got kids. Look at how nurturing he is and how lovely. And women, you know, they get divorced, they've got kids. Guys are like, whoop, it's got baggage. I'm not going near that. You know, so I think that men and women have different problems post-divorce, and the world could be better to both of them. I think that I have some women who you know, I've done their divorce, and whatever guy is with them is going to be very lucky because they're beautiful, they're smart, they're good moms, but they're also, you know, vibrant, exciting women.
And now they're loaded.
And they've got money now. Yeah, they've got money. They don't have as much financial insecurity.
Money from the divorce. And that is true. Men who get divorced, they'll have a tough time, very hard time during that divorce. But the end result are the women who initiate divorce thinking they're going to find something better, realize it. The men are actually at a better position than they are, right? They're on their decline part of their SMV. Let's keep listening. Almost done here, guys.
Although I have to tell you that, you know, it's the last remaining feminist taboo. I got a lot of women paying alimony these days. I mean, you know, women marry the like handsome musician who's not successful or the artist, you know, like there's a lot, listen, it hasn't been, you know, there's been a significant effort in our culture in the last decade, if anyone didn't notice, to improve the situation of women. If you have an equally qualified man and an equally qualified woman, the woman's the diversity hire, the man's not. So I have a lot of women who get, when they get told like, oh yeah, no, you got to give him half your shit. Or, oh no, you got to pay alimony because he makes 50 grand a year and you make 250. And they're like, you know, they could be the staunchest feminist in the world, and when you tell them they got to pay alimony, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. He's a man. He's got a strong back. He can get out there and work.
Of course.
And then suddenly the whole like gender is a construct and there's no such thing. That goes right out the window when you got told you got to pay alimony. Right. That's like, nope, no. I believe in strict gender roles. Men should pay alimony. Women, even if you earn 10 times, you should not have to pay alimony. I've had very, very staunchly feminist clients who changed their mind about how feminist they were when they got told that they were going to have to pay alimony.
Reminds me of the Mary J. Blige situation. She was shaming her husband for accepting alimony. She had to go back on tour just to be able to afford the alimony payments. And she had this women's conference, all the women there shaming him for accepting alimony. But when you think of Mary J. Blige, you know, strong, independent, black woman who's out here encouraging other women to be the same thing. But when it's time to be equal and be strong.
No, I'll have a tea, actually.
You want tea.
Interesting.
Yeah. But I do have a lot of men who won't take alimony even though they're entitled to it. Because there's just some feeling of like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. It's emasculating. Like if she tells people that we know that I took alimony from her, like people will think I'm less than a man. So
if y'all don't run these women up.
Again, it's all gender stuff. It's still out there. It's still part of the zeitgeist. You know, we're still trying to figure it all out.
How many marriages are genuinely happy, you think? How many married couples?
Gosh.
Because I see married couples that have been married, it looks like they've been married a decade or two. Yeah. And they're having dinner and they're having the same conversation they had yesterday or the day before, or the day before that, and the weeks and months before that. And it just
you know, here's what I'll tell you. I know a lot of people And I think I know one couple that has like a genuinely happy marriage.
What do you think the secret is?
They really like each other. I don't know. Like they're really good to each other. I have to tell you, they make me very uncomfortable. I jokingly, my ex-wife and I jokingly say that they were the reason we got divorced. Because we've known them since we were in college. And we went to Disney with them, with their kids and our kids when all the kids were little. And we were gonna go on a ride with our kids and their kids, and they were gonna, like, you know, oh, we'll take the kids on the ride and you guys can go. And my friend was like, oh good, we're just gonna go walk and hold hands. And they walked away and like holding hands, and we looked at them and we didn't say anything to each other. But like 5 years later when we got divorced, I said, you know, when I saw the two of them together, I thought, I don't feel like that about her. Like, and she said, oh my God, I remember that exact moment. I felt the same way. So I think they make people uncomfortable. Like when you see someone who's got it right, like this guy just loves her. He loves her. They've been married 25 years and dude, it's like he's talking about a girl he met yesterday. And she's the same way about him. Like
it's a miracle when that happens.
Yeah, I just think look, you know, man, I tell people marriage is like the lottery. You are probably not gonna win. You know, but if you win, what you win is so good. Like, I don't know, maybe buy a ticket. Like, but buy it to get a prenup. Like, do you take all your money and buy lottery tickets? No, but and I don't buy lottery tickets. Like, I don't play the lottery. You're not gonna win. Why? You know, set the money on fire. It'll be more fun. But if somebody said to me, no, man, you know what? Once a week, I buy $20 worth of lottery tickets. All right, go for it. You know, somebody's got to win. Maybe it'll be you. Like same thing with marriage. Like maybe somebody's got to win. Like, yeah, I've met hundreds, if not thousands of couples. And I know one that is legitimately happy and like really seem to just feed that happiness by that marriage that they have. And they both as individuals have become the best version of themselves by being, you know what? Like if they won the lottery. So buy the ticket, I guess, you know, but I mean, don't make that your retirement plan.
Right.
Like, don't go like, well, you know, don't worry, I'm not saving money for my kids' college because, you know, I'm buying lottery tickets. Like you're an idiot if you're doing that.
Excellent. Jim, thank you so much for sharing your story.
It's a pleasure.
Your thoughts on marriage and love and divorce. Fascinating topic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I suspect it will continue to be. I don't know that we're going to culturally get any better at it, but the economy's good, we're busy. Economy's bad, we're busy. Like we're a recession-proof industry, so you know it's even COVID didn't slow us down. You know,
probably sped you up.
Well, people said for better or for worse. They didn't say for lunch. You know, and when you're locked in the house together, that was not great for most marriages. Like there was it was not, hey, we should all spend more time together. You know, there was a lot of difficult conversations that came out of that. Barbers and divorce lawyers, when the pandemic ended, the lines were out the door. You know, so whatever the next thing is, you know, we'll still be here.
All right, guys, there you go. As always, we're going to check out some comments here, just a few. I'm curious to know what you guys thought of the conversation. Here's what we have here from the comments section from the actual original video. Again, you can go check out Soft White Underbelly and subscribe to their channel and watch more of their content. Our first comment here reads, I never thought I'd listen to a divorce attorney for an hour. Jim's societal insights are fascinating. Great interview. Please have him back. That was really good. Here's another comment that reads, that was excellent. Got married at 20 with all odds and both families against us. Celebrating 30 years this month. Congratulations to this guy. Not always easy and mistakes made on both parts, but staying together was well worth the effort. Proud of the work we've done and will spend the rest of my life happily married to my soulmate. This commenter says, here's another comment that reads, this is gold. I'm going to show this to my girlfriend. This is premarital counseling at its finest. Yeah, this is so important that if you're consuming content like this, it helps you realize the realities of what you're getting yourself into. If marriage is something you still value today, then you want your partner also listening to this type of stuff. Shoot it to them. Have a conversation about their thoughts and where they stand. That would tell you a lot about who they are and who they will be in that marriage if things are successful or fail. Another comment here says, I cannot believe I listened to a divorce lawyer for an hour. He was so interesting, honest, and incredibly insightful. Wow, lots to process here. Give this guy his own podcast, please. Yeah, it's hard to believe that he doesn't have any experience in podcasting. Maybe he does. He came off so naturally. Another comment here says, this is by far my favorite